Hi everyone, welcome back to Legal Operations One-on-One series. Today I have with me Laurie Elric, a legal ops leader at Cognizant Technology. Hi Laurie, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
Laurie and I are talking about a topic that's very dear to my heart, how to build a metrics-driven legal department. I think that legal departments have for long suffered the image of being a cost center with absolutely no visible data points. However, now CXOs want legal to be measurable and to be data-driven. And on the other hand, when you ask in-house lawyers to track something, the first answer that I get is, I left law firms because I didn't want to track anything. So as legal ops leader, Laurie, where do you think we should begin?
That's so true. I remember when I moved in-house from Big Law, the first thing I did was stop wearing a watch as kind of a symbolic celebration of not having to track my time in 6-minute increments anymore. I think the worst thing you can do in developing a metrics program is to just start with asking your attorneys to record data. Taking that approach can lead to a lot of resentment. It can lead to inaccurate data, and it could turn out to be completely useless, and then you've pissed people off for no reason. You really need to start with your objective. Be able to articulate for all the participants, what the specific problem is that you're trying to address in collecting the data, why it matters, and how does it tie to the overarching mandates for the legal department, such as supporting the company's growth, protecting the company from losses, and managing the legal department efficiently. A legal department with an effective metrics program should be able to provide a data-backed narrative on how it's succeeded in meeting its objectives, and be able to use data to identify ways that it can make improvements in how it services the organization.
I truly believe, Rory, that any data-driven story is far more impactful, and particularly when you're going to ask your CFO for more money or for an investment. So let's take an example. If you want to invest in a CLM tool or even AI for contract review, it always helps that you have the number of contracts you reviewed over the last year. What was the tag, what was the net value, what efficiencies you're looking to drive. But I think a lot of legal departments struggle with how do they get to that, collecting that data and that kind of information.
I'm so glad you used this as an example, because improving processes around contracting is a subject that's very near and dear to my heart. It's how I got started in legal ops. In fact, was thinking about how we can improve our contracting processes. I think one of the reasons legal departments struggle so much with how to collect data is because they don't first contemplate the full range of data points that could be useful in creating that data-backed narrative. So improvements in contracting hit really all three of the typical legal department mandates. It's about getting to revenues faster, it's about protecting from risk and losses, and of course it's about efficiency in management. So a potential objective that you could state in that kind of initiatives where you're bringing in technology would be, achieve faster turnaround times on contracts while increasing consistency and reducing the time spent by attorneys on rote work through the implementation of an AI-enabled contract management platform. Now, if you take that objective, I can think of a number of data points that were not in the list that you mentioned before that you might want to consider including, such as how much time attorneys are spending on administrating the contracting process, the categories and complexity of the contracts, the complexity of the contracting process itself, the degree of adherence to the playbook terms, both in initial markup and in a secondary markup, the cost for the company that might be associated with inconsistencies in what contracting terms you're adopting. And of course, the potential vendors that you might want to use would also have a multitude of data points that show the success of their platforms in identifying those pain points. I think you should cast as wide a net as possible so that when you get to the how of collecting the data, if there are data points that you cannot collect data for, you'll have still plenty of others to choose from in creating that data-backed narrative.
I completely agree with you. I think the devil lies in the detail, and the more data you capture, the more insightful decisions you're going to make. But coming back to my how, I think where legal departments struggle is they don't look beyond their own organization. So I think if they start looking beyond your own legal department and look at systems and data in other departments such as finance or sales, or even data in people's head, or your existing process maps, or just observations. It kind of helps you start building something, even if it's unstructured data to begin with. Would you agree?
Absolutely. I would completely agree with that. You know, just looking at one of the data points I mentioned before, the whether the inconsistencies in contract terms are costing the company money. You know, you absolutely need to get data from delivery, from security, from finance, maybe even litigation, hopefully not, in addition to data that might be in the contracts themselves. So I think in thinking about the how, I would recommend that you really be systematic and exhaustive in looking for data sources. So you think about contracting, you think about all the different functions in a company that touch contracts. And then you think about, you know, who within those organizations would have data, what systems those other functions are using, what systems you're using, the thinking about that, you'd want to think about, you know, the fact that there are so many different types of data. There's quantitative data, qualitative data, as you mentioned. There's automated data, there's manual data, and then there's data that's a single point in time or data that's ongoing. And so as you collect all those different potential sources, then you can start evaluating and down selecting to the options that are going to give you the most accurate and the least amount of effort engaged in getting that data. So yeah, be exhaustive.
Yes, I absolutely agree. My biggest advice to anybody is just start somewhere. You know, sometimes even if it means taking a piece of paper and jotting down data points, just get there. Over a period of time, it will become meaningful data set. So thank you so much, Laurie. This was so insightful and it was an absolute pleasure having you.
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed our conversation. Thank you for having me.
Thanks everyone for watching.